What's going on, everybody? LK here, back at it again with another video, and today we're going to keep on going with the player series. It looks like everyone's enjoying it just as much as I like talking about it, I guess. It's pretty interesting to look at what has been the most successful in this game so far. And just as a quick recap, right, the first one I did was Goichi, so obviously it was a lot talking about his defense and why his defense is so good. And then, of course, next was Kaz. And not just talking about offense for Kaz, but also talking about how well the team abused the game at that time, right? So next, I'm kind of going to go with people's favorite. And you'll surely recognize the squad, the combination of characters. You can tell I've never played Super Saiyan Vegeta because it took me that long to find him, yes. We're going to talk about Hook's team. And I think he holds a pretty special place in this game. Despite, like, of course he has, he is the Summit champion, right? Last year's Summit champion. And he's won majors here and there. He was in the top 8 for the World Tour Finals 2018-2019. So he's obviously made an impact in the game. But for this video, just like the other two players I talked about, I think there's one thing specifically that really makes Hook stand apart from the other players. So outside of course, the first thing you would talk about is the character selection. So from the jump, he used Piccolo. And when Piccolo and the game came out, Piccolo wasn't really regarded as that strong of a character. It was basically just Hook and Apology Man, my teammate. Shout out to Apology Man. And Japan didn't really use him so much at the start. Despite this, though, people end up developing him. He has some strengths of his own. This is kind of where I want to start. So, one thing that comes across in the game, when I say we, right? Not just you watching and the people who comment, the people who don't comment, or myself or whatever. The scene as a whole, when we talk about characters, I've said this before, but we tend to be quite extreme in our judgment of characters. So, the easy example would be saying how we say like Bardock's broken, right? So when people say Bardock's broken, he's so fucking broken. Right? Okay, Bardock's broken, right? We understand that Bardock's top tier, but just a common discourse of the game, right? Bardock's broken. Oh, okay. Yamcha's is broken. Oh, 40 frame. Okay, whatever. So, there are many cases in this game. They designed this game quite carefully. There are many cases in this game of something being not as good as other things. So you could just say, like, it's good or it's okay, but people say it's really bad. And that is where Piccolo started. So one of the things about Hook in general was just he noted the strength of the character while everyone considered the character to be bad. So where would we start, I think, is probably, and I honestly should put both sides as Piccolo, right? So what was the major, while I'm switching the teams, the major issue that people had with Piccolo last year when the game came out was, more than anything else, was he couldn't really get slide knockdowns by himself mid-screen. He had to get you to the corner. That was the main thing that people kind of weren't really feeling about him. He had some kind of a weird moveset. He has this weird command grab and this weird cross-up move, but in a environment where when every new game comes out, like a brand new system too, not something that you're familiar with, so not, let's say in the case of GG, like people get GG, like it doesn't take that long to figure out what new character is good because people understand Guilty Gear. And you can say the same for Street Fighter too. Like when they release a new character in Street Fighter, people just know Street Fighter, so like they'll be able to identify whether or not the character is actually good really quick, as long as the game is like a Street Fighter game. But we didn't know how to play Dragon Ball. So, for example, Cell was very good at the time, but he was also very simple. Blaze Blue had the same thing too. The character is very simple, has some pretty strong effective tools, and people are just like, he's really good, or he's really broken, or he's top tier, or whatever. Piccolo did not have these things. The thing about Hook was that he realized quickly that Piccolo's jump light was especially good compared to other characters, which is true, and his assist was especially good compared to other characters, which is also true. Now we all understand this, but at that time, no one was replaying Piccolo, so nobody really knew. Combine that with people not just being familiar with what the character is doing, which we see today, by the way. There are certainly examples of players who are strong and they're like special sauces. They have like their character that people aren't prepared for, and you have an immediate huge boost right there. But the other thing about him that really stood out is, more than anything else, he is one of the players that should have shown that like the game wasn't so much about mix-ups at the start. But we still have this issue today, so people really do value mix-ups. But when you look at this shell, so if we're really gonna talk about it, the Summit team is this: it's Cell, Bardock, SSJ, Vegeta, right? Cell, Bardock, Cell, Piccolo, SSJ, Vegeta, right? So the main thing about this team, and if you were following the game from the jump, one thing that Kaz said really early, because Kaz was playing Team Kazunoko pretty early. He was running that Adult Gohan Yamcha shell pretty early, but he's running Kid Buu. And there was a pretty early interview of him where he said the main reason is you Cell is because Cell is big and slow, and he doesn't want to play slow characters. He wants to play fast, he wants to get in, he wants to mix you up. So this shell that Hook used really accents and protects Cell. Because at that time, Cell, if he hit you, like he got hit by this or by this, I know it looked the same, but it's each version of perfect attack, right? If you got hit by perfect attack or something, you're gone. With the Piccolo assist covering him so you could run around full screen, and of course the traditional jump forward, call Vegeta, Vegeta appearing behind you, keeping you really safe, he got pretty much a hyper version of Cell that basically got to run around the screen. Everyone had to be scared of him because either the orb was following him or he had the Vegeta cover. It was very strong neutral. And both of these assists, because another thing about the general scene is that both of these assists are key blast assists, which people tend to look down on and say, oh, they're not as good because the block stun is not guaranteed. But both of these assists are key blast assists. So looking at it simply, he's basically beating you without mix-ups, just using like the system mechanics of the game, right? So basically like using this to hit you, or like trying to just drag rush you when you're scared, and that's pretty much it. But he won one of the most important tournaments of the game with this strategy, and he kept winning too, with generally a neutral shell, right? I think this type of shell was very effective for a really long time, like pretty much in the top group, probably from around like last March to say at the absolute latest this January 2019. It had a really long run. You saw many teams that not necessarily had strong mix, or maybe had just one mix assist, and then Vegeta. As time went on too, the effectiveness of the team went up because, of course, even though he switched to Bardock or whatever, you know, Piccolo developed snap setup. So Piccolo, Vegeta, the snap setups with Piccolo Vegeta are not as good as Beam. Right, you have to do this, but you still get something. You still get Hell Zone. It wasn't nerfed Hell Zones; it was still a thing. The other thing, of course, is going back to neutral. Right? So outside of this and Orb and Vegeta assist, you also had Piccolo with Cell assist, which, remember, I think is very strong. At that time last year, it wasn't as good. It's kind of hard to hit confirm was the main thing randomly, but it's still 245-degree assists, and we couldn't talk about Hook without talking about Vegeta. So there are other players besides him that like are standout Vegeta players, but just in the scope of this team specifically, right? Just in the scope of this team specifically, his Vegeta was an example of, again, how neutral really helps you win games, and helps you win games for a very long time. Because this is a theory I had from last year. It's not so relevant anymore, but pretty much before EVO last year, if you look at all the teams that people had, everyone was pretty much running Anchor, SSJ Vegeta, Anchor, Android 16, or the still uncommon, but, you know, present, Anchor Yamcha. So 16 and Yamcha are, of course, about they will hit you. That's their goal. they will hit you, they're trying to come back. Vegeta is more, he can't be hit, he's very hard to hit. If you remember, of course, like, he has of course the single ki blast air DP, this does mad damage, right? He has good air ki blast, good ground ki blasts, and to keep you in check, to stop you from moving, boom, the eagle kick into a full combo. On top of that, last year his pressure was way better because this gelled into Vanish, so he could really keep his turn. So Hook was really good at like staying away, dice rolling eagle kick so that you were scared of jumping after blocking ki blast. And he'd run up to you, push his turn, use the system mechanics, and close it. Alright, let me know if you have any comments, questions, whatever about this video. Thinking about it now, so this type of shell, the only thing that happened, you know, is that, well, I feel like this type of shell is still pretty effective. I just think in today's play, people's neutral games are just way more structured now, and people's defense are good enough that it's pretty hard, especially if like you're not really optimal with your combos, to win with a purely like super neutral heavy team. If you play a team like this, and this is the thing about Goichi's current team, this is what I've been learning from playing it, you need really good defense and you need to optimize your combos, because when you play a team like this, and this is why a super strong neutral team is good earlier on in the game, like when I think Hook had the absolute most success he had. When you play a team like that, or a character like that even, depending on the game, so the main reason why it's so effective is just that other people's offense aren't as good, so you have more chances to do this thing, like run away this way or control space this way. As time goes on, the onus is on you to really keep better at it, to keep up with people's offense, optimization, etc. So in Hook's case, I still think he has a very stellar neutral game, and the defense of the game, like the, you know, we could talk about like, or I have talked about like the knockdown system in the game, and also they've been like nerfing level 3s. Snap is not as good, certain types of offense is not as good or not present anymore. But despite all those changes, people's offense are way more put together, people are way more optimal. So I think that's kind of contributed to Hook not having as much success, but I still think of him as a very strong player of this game. Okay, like I said, if you have any comments, questions, whatever, leave them in the comment section, like and subscribe if you feel like it, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.